If you're anything like me, you're probably pretty dismayed at the price of a new car these days, which pushes $50,000. And if you want a new electric car, well, I'm sorry to say, that's going to cost you even more. But a new, very different kind of EV startup is changing all that with an EV pickup truck that costs under $20,000 after federal incentives. And here it is. This is the Slate truck, and we're going to take a look at it today. So the question that I had on my mind, and that a lot of you probably have too, is like, how did they get this thing to be so damn cheap? And there's a few things that go into that. Basically, this company says that they have stripped down manufacturing to its simplest form, and the truck is really, really basic. You get one color, that's gray. You don't get an infotainment system, but as we'll talk about later, you get a lot of really interesting options to customize this truck. You get this blank slate, they call it, just a platform, and then you can add on hundreds of different accessories to basically make this truck your own. But this, as you see it here, is going to be the base model that arrives in your driveway if you don't add any of those options. You can add wheels and wheel covers and all sorts of stuff, and you can even turn this thing into a damn SUV. So believe it or not, this is actually the exact same vehicle that you saw before. They turned this thing into an SUV, they wrapped it, and that just shows kind of how customizable and DIY-able this Slate truck is. It is quite a bit smaller than a Ford Maverick, and it kind of reminds me of those older two-door trucks like the Ford Ranger or Toyota Tacoma. The kind of whole concept here is to create a back-to-basics vehicle that regular people can actually afford. Slate is all about customization and DIYing your truck to be exactly what you want it to be. And it's a really interesting new approach, I think, to EVs. It's kind of crazy how many different combinations of add-ons and accessories you can add to this vehicle to make it look and feel however you want. One of the things you can do, you can wrap it. They say it's super easy to wrap. It has these coach lines, the body panels are really easy, and they say that professionals can wrap a truck in just 30 minutes. And just to linger on the color thing for 1 second, this is a really interesting way that they've cut costs out of the manufacturing process. The vehicle comes in gray, and that is dyed into the composite body panels. That means that they saved $350 million installing a paint shop in their factory, according to the CEO. This company has done a lot of really innovative things to bring the cost of manufacturing down. And changing the color of this truck is really just the beginning of the customization options. You can choose from a bunch of different covers for the daytime running lights. You can swap out that Slate badge in front and have it be whatever you want it to be. So here's how the customization program works. You order your accessories from Slate, and they'll arrange for a partner to install those accessories for you near your house and then ship the car to you, or you can actually do it yourself. And a lot of this stuff just uses regular hex keys, so it seems like pretty much anybody could figure out how to swap parts on their truck. So you're probably wondering, what's the range of this thing? You can get two different estimated ranges in this truck. The lower range one gets 150 miles projected, and the longer range one gets 240 miles. Remember how I talked about how they simplified the manufacturing process? So those are the only two variants that come out of the factory. It is one with a small battery, one with a big battery. Everything else is added after the fact as accessories. So the Slate truck is single motor rear wheel drive. Someday we might see an all-wheel drive option, but they're not talking about that yet. Really interesting thing, this comes with a Tesla designed NACS port, and it's actually in the right place on the back left of the vehicle, so you don't have to act like a jerk when you go and charge at the Tesla supercharger. The max power is 120 kilowatts, and they say that this car can charge from 20 to 80% in under 30 minutes. None of it is super impressive specs-wise. We're not talking about top of the EV market, but then again, you have to remember that this is more affordable than basically any other EV out there. The Slate truck will be built at a factory somewhere in the Midwest. They're not talking about that yet either. And production starts in late 2026. By the time things are up and running in 2027 or 2028, Slate expects to be making about 150,000 of these a year. It's kind of hard to talk about the Slate truck's design just because this thing can be so different depending on how you customize it. But I think in general, it looks really good. It has this really timeless, really simple design without being boring. And one thing that's really cool is that you can actually install the SUV kit yourself. They send it to your house, and there are actually two different options that you can choose from. There is this boxy one that we're looking at here, and there's also a fastback, which honestly is probably the one that I would order. I think this is a really cool option because It's something that you can do after you bought the truck. Let's say you have a kid or you decide you need more space, you can order that SUV kit and install it yourself. And that's just the stuff that you can do to the outside of this truck. There's also a ton of customization options for the interior. Here we are in the inside of the Slate truck, and it's pretty basic in here. You know, you have a good amount of hard plastic, but it has a nice texture to it. In front of me, I've got a digital gauge cluster that also functions as the backup camera. And I should note, this interior that you're seeing here has a few upgrades over the blank slate. In the blank slate truck, you'll have gray panels up here, and this brown leather is also an accessory. But one thing that is on the blank slate that you also see in here are manual windows. Let's give that a little go. Yep, they work, that's for sure. Powered windows are an accessory that you can buy, and you can get door bins, you can get a center console, and you can also outfit this dashboard in a bunch of different ways. You don't actually get a stereo in this vehicle if you order the blank slate. The idea is you can use your phone, and maybe you can put a Bluetooth speaker in the cup holder, and that's going to be your music. But you can also buy accessories from Slate. So in this one, we have actually a couple of speakers behind here that can connect to your phone via Bluetooth. There are some things that you do get in this vehicle as standard. That includes AC and heat. One interesting customization option for this interior is something that Slate is calling Slatelets. And they're kind of like those little things that you can stick into your Crocs. They're basically these little tiles with cool designs on them that you can slot into this track. One thing that you might notice about this interior is there is no screen. Instead of an infotainment system, you get an app on your phone. You stick your phone into this phone holder, and it actually gets plugged into the vehicle. The app shows you how far you can get on a charge through this map, and also shows you where charging stations are. One neat thing that Slate does is they know that people probably aren't going to want to use an automotive grade mapping software or entertainment app, and so they let you use basically whatever your preferred app is. They don't force you to use something else. You can use Waze or Google Maps. Another interesting part of the app is that it actually allows you to diagnose problems in the vehicle yourself. This is a really unusual thing for any car, and especially for an EV, but the app will tell you what's wrong with your car and suggest ways to fix it, whether that's by yourself or by bringing it to a service partner. Some other options that I should mention about this interior: you can actually add steering wheel buttons over here that control your volume or control the track, and those will also connect to your phone via Bluetooth. On the left-hand side here, I can see that there are cruise control buttons, so you do actually get cruise control in this car, but it's just basic cruise control, no adaptive cruise control or lane centering. However, Slate does say that more advanced driver assistance tech is in the works. Another interesting thing about the Slate truck is that this thing actually can get software updates over the air, even though the truck itself is not connected to the internet. That's really unusual these days as cars get more and more connected. Instead, you can get software updates through your phone. So here I am in the backseat of the Slate truck. I will say I don't have the most amount of legroom. I'm 6'1" and it's a little bit cramped back here. I do have a good amount of headroom. It was not that easy to get back here because this is still a two-door vehicle, even when you convert it to the SUV. These windows also don't open. This is probably a good option for kids or maybe smaller adults. Overall, this interior is pretty darn basic, but it's really cool that you can upgrade it over time. So I've got to say, this is a really interesting concept, especially when you consider that most new EVs that we test at Inside EVs cost like $50 or $75 or $100,000. It's really cool to see a company going the complete opposite direction and making something that's really for everyday Americans. I do have some questions though. One big one is, can a new EV startup even survive in 2025 and beyond? You go back to the early 2020s, and there was a lot of hype around a lot of different EV startups. A lot of them didn't even make it to production. Some of them did and then failed after that. Building an EV company from scratch is really, really hard. And I hope Slate can pull it off, but we'll have to see how they do. I think it's also an open question whether people will go for such a bare bones vehicle. At that base price in the mid $20,000 range, what you get is pretty limited. And on top of that, what happens if the federal EV tax credit goes away, which is a real possibility? Now you're looking at a vehicle that, instead of costing a little under $20,000, costs close to $30,000. Despite all those questions, I think that it's pretty clear Slate has positioned itself as a disruptor, and I'm really eager to see where it goes.